Hi everyone, it's Cobbett of the Shire again, or Stephen. I'm smoking my Peterson Christmas pipe that I bought off Alan. It's a lovely smoker and I love the stem. It's beautiful shaping on it, colouring and that kind of thing. Really, really nice. Let's turn it the right way over. But anyway, I'm really enjoying smoking it at the moment. And in it I've got McClelland's AM pipe, and I'm smoking that until I finish that jar. What I want to talk about for a few minutes is tobacco and cellaring and open jars. At the moment I've got too many open jars, and I decided that what I would do is choose a tobacco at the beginning of the day when I've smoked out one jar, and then keep smoking that blend until I get to the end. Now I don't know whether it's telepathy or because we're related, but I suddenly find that Tim decided to do the same thing as well. The idea is that I get to know that blend very well because I'm smoking it every pipeful until it's finished, and I also get to know whether it's really a blend that I want to make part of my regular rotation or whether I'm not bothered about that. Part of the reason, as I say, is to cut down on the open blends I've got, but also because of cellaring. I only want to cellar tobaccos that I like, which is a sensible thing, and not too many of them. Maybe enough different. Well, the idea that I have is that I have enough different blends that I like in sufficient quantity to last me until I die. Now, that could be any time, I suppose. How do you know when you're going to die? But I'm 68 and I'm planning to live till 100. So I want to have enough tobaccos, tins, and to last me until I'm 100. That means I need to work out how quickly I'm smoking through 50 grams, for example. If I die before then, it doesn't matter because somebody else will benefit from my supply. But I don't want to have hundreds of different blends of tobacco to go through. I want to have some of my favourite tobaccos. The other thought that's at the back of my mind, that smoking is becoming more and more difficult. In this country, for example, I fear that eventually the government's going to say, well, the selling of tobacco is banned, that you can no longer buy tobacco. And I don't want to be involved in smuggling at my age. I mean, rowing across the channel and rowing back with tobacco on my boat and then trying to smuggle it through. So I thought, if I have enough stored, if that terrible event ever happens, then I have my supply. And you might think, well, that's never going to happen. But our government's looking at putting on beer and wine and spirit bottles warnings the size of the ones that they put on tobacco, at the same proportion. So it might come that in the future, in the next year or so, when you buy a bottle of alcohol, half the bottle has a warning on it that it's going to kill you. So it's, no big deal to sort of think that the next step is to say, well, you can't have any. The nanny state is best. the thing that amuses me is they're setting up and allowing setting up of cannabis clubs where you can go and you can buy and smoke cannabis. Lovely, isn't it? Tobacco, which is less harmful, I believe, than cannabis in the long run. And, you know, maybe we won't be allowed to smoke it. So it's quite a good idea, because already in smoking half a jar of tobacco, I've worked out whether I really like that blend. So I've gone through about 3 small jars at the moment, nearly at the end of the AM flake. And there's one, the Consummate Gentleman, that I sort of think, yes, I like that. I might buy that again. There was a good video by Janice about cellaring and about his ideas. And he talked about the amounts of tobacco he buys in a particular blend. And I want to sort of think about the same kinds of amounts, really. Once I've worked out how long it takes me to smoke 50 grams, then I'll have a rough idea how long, you know, how many of those tins I need. So I'm hoping that works out. It'll also clear my open blends, apart from maybe 10 or a dozen that I really do enjoy and that I can rotate at a regular basis. But I wouldn't be bothered if I got down to 5 and, you know, then opening tins as I want them. The other advantage of doing it that way and cellaring most of my tobacco is that there'll come a time where I don't need to buy any more tobacco. I'll have enough. Except for the occasional special blends like Peterson's Christmas or summer blends, that kind of thing, that I particularly want to try. So that's where I am at the moment. And I thought I'd share that with you. Not because I think it's anything particularly brilliant, but it might give you some ideas of as your own way of smoking and cellaring. Excuse me a moment. And I want to sort of just finish with a little chatette with you about how things are. Life for me continues to be surprisingly good. Having spent years feeling bad about myself and years of on and off depression, I'm feeling particularly good, particularly happy. And that's quite surprising. I've also decided that I must set aside time to write, because if I'm going to do my own stories and maybe read the occasional one out to you, if I don't write, I haven't got stories to tell. The Writers' Club that I run, the group, is going particularly well, and I'm enjoying that. Carolyn varies as to her health. No sooner do we think that things are improving than something else seems to go wrong. Food's a real problem at the moment. She feels unable to eat very much at all, really. She's eating enough to keep her going, and that's good. But, for example, at tea, you know, not knowing what to have. And if she oversteps the limit, then she is violently sick. That's caused by the drugs she's taking. And at the moment, she has a frozen arm. Well, not a frozen arm, but one of the... It's limited in movement and gives her a lot of pain in the shoulder joint there, along with all the other pains that she has. But she's enjoying felting and making little animals. I showed the fox the other day. She's now doing a badger and keeping up with her crafts. The other thing I've decided to do is to sell all my model railway equipment. I've never set it up. I was full of good intentions about having a layout when we moved. But I thought we had enough room and we just haven't. I've got a board attached to the wall, but that causes as many problems as it answers. So what I'm going to do is give that to charity. I think the railway equipment I've got, both O and N gauge, because of choosing which one to use, and I want to sort of build up my supply of ebooks. At the moment I've gone back to Dune and I'm making my way through that series, but I'd like to get all the other books associated with Dune written by Frank Herbert's son and by a friend, that give the history before Dune and after Dune and during Dune. So if any of you know that series, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I find it a remarkable series in all sorts of ways. I love the spirituality of Dune. I love the politics and the things that go on, because they seem so relevant today. He was a brilliant writer. The other thing I've wondered about is reading you excerpts from Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, but I don't know about that, whether that would be a good idea or not. We'll have to see what the response is. But I hope you're well. I hope all of you are enjoying life, and I'm aware that some of you are suffering ill health, and although I don't pray in a conventional way, I keep you in my mind at my meditations and my positive thoughts I send out to you. It used to be that when a friend of ours was in particular pain, she would ask God to send the pain to me, because I suggested that she did that. And she'd ring up and say to Carolyn, "Where's Stephen hurting?" And Carolyn would say, "Are you hurting anywhere?" And I'd usually say, "Oh, my knee's painful today," or my arm, because she had arthritis. And she was usually satisfied that God had passed it on. I'm not suggesting you all send me your pain, but it's worth thinking about that I'm here to share with you where I can. And I'm here to keep you in my thoughts and in my prayer, in my meditations, and sending as much positive thought as I can. You might think that's ridiculous. If so, I'm sorry, but at least you're being remembered, which is a good thing. Well, I've gone on for 13 minutes, coming up to 15 before I've finished. So I'm going to close and go to bed and read some Dune. It's now 11:10, and I'll probably be reading till about 2:00. And then in the middle of the night, the dogs can wake me up and say they want to go out to relieve themselves, which then causes a paroxysm of barking as we go down the hall and out into the garden. And I have to remind the little one that she's actually come out to do something, not to bark at me. So usually I look at her and say, "Whittles," or busy, and she suddenly goes, "Oh yes, right," and scoots off and does her duty. Anyway, may you all be richly blessed, and may your God always go with you.